Cheryl Kennedy is going to give the safety report.
April results were positive. The subway customer accident rate decreased by 23.4% in April, and the 12-month average also decreased by 7.8% compared to a year ago. The employee lost time accident rate was down 39.7% in May, and the 12-month average rate shows a slight increase of 1.8% compared to a previous year. The number of confirmed fires was down 7.1% during May. They were also down 5.5% over the last 12 months. Also in May, all fires were categorized as being low or average in severity.
On crime statistics, Chief Diaz, please.
Good morning. At the end of June, we were up 11 crimes for the year. However, we're still under our record average of 2009 of 6 crimes a day. And as a matter of fact, the last 5 or 6 weeks, we've been under our weekly average of 39 crimes a week. On a good note, on July 1st, we had 104 recruits graduate from the academy, and all of them were assigned to the Transit Bureau, so which brings us up to our head count almost to where it was in 2005.
Preliminary Mayfair Box revenue was, I'm sorry.
Can I ask a quick question
Yes.
on the crime? I was just sitting in the last committee, and I had not realized this before, but that the NYPD does not, I guess it's the MTA police that does Staten Island Rapid Transit? Is there any reason why historically that happened? Not that I don't have any confidence in the MTA police, but it just seems like that's an anomaly in the system.
Staten Island was a hybrid always between commuter rail and rail rapid transit.
Right.
And it always had a police department. And so when the issue of the 2 other police departments going into the MTA Police Department, Long Island and Metro North, Staten Island followed suit.
On the finance report, preliminary Mayfair Box revenue was $276 million, which was $1.3 million or 0.5% above budget, and that was due entirely to higher than budgeted subway ridership. The average non-student fare in May was $1.48, and in constant 1996 dollars, the average fare fell from $1.38 in 1996 to $1.02 in 2010. Preliminary May operating expenses before depreciation were under budget by $1.9 million or 0.4% for the month, and $71.2 million or 3% year-to-date, due mostly to lower energy, fringe benefit, and paratransit expenses, as well as favorable timing of expenses and vacancies. Turning to ridership, in May, ridership totaled 199.5 million, which was 1.2% above budget. This was mostly due to increased subway ridership. Year-to-date ridership was 954.7 million, or 0.4% above budget. Average weekday subway ridership in May was 5.3 million, an increase of 1.8% from the same month in 2009. Average weekday local bus ridership in May was 2.4 million, which was a decrease of 1.6% from the same month in 2009. In May, average weekday express bus ridership was 45,000, which was a decrease of 2.2% from 2009. And average weekday paratransit ridership in May was 30,000, an increase of 7.1% from the same month in 2009. We also have an early look at financial results for June 2010. Preliminary total fare box revenue for June was $278 million, which was below budget by $3.4 million or 1.2%, due mostly to underruns in fare media liability revenue and bus revenue. Preliminary June operating expenses were under budget by $8.7 million or 1.8%, due primarily to lower energy and paratransit expenses. For a capital program report, I'm going to ask not Fred Smith.
Good morning. My name is Alan Marder. I'm sitting in for Fred Smith this morning. Looking at capital program results through May, New York City Transit committed $296 million, which includes the purchase of 23 A Division subway cars and conversion of 10 R142A cars. The track and switch program, phase 2 of a roof replacement project, an ADA project at 45th Road Courthouse Square Station, and a structure painting project at the 125th Street Arch. Through May, $1.07 billion in projects were substantially completed, including the acceptance of 747 hybrid electric buses, as well as 52 more B Division R160 rail cars toward the overall purchase of 382 cars.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions on the operations report? Yes, Mr. LeBeau.
Tom, why does no one know that the average fare in $96 is $1.02, when the fare in '96 went to $1.50? I mean, subway fares for the average rider are more than a third less than they were 15 years ago, and nobody seems to know it. How is that possible in a free America?
We don't publicize that other than this meeting, but you're right. It is amazing, and it's, I think, a combination of things. It's the attention to the budget, but also some of the fare discounts that have been offered over the years.
Does that mean that you, like me, are in favor of eliminating discounts not only on the bridges, but in the subways and buses as well?
Issues related to fares are a board matter, not an executive matter.
You could lose your voice if you don't want to answer some of these questions. Any other questions? Okay. Dr. Radniciano.
Good morning. Let me start with the Fulton Street Transit Center. We are on target for substantial completion of the Transit Center building foundation, which is scheduled for the end of August, so that will be done. We are also in the process of vetting the Plaza Chavon joint venture for the award on the Transit Center building, which at this time we forecast to be awarded by the end of this week. This will be the last contract that we will be awarding. A kickoff meeting was held on June 3rd for the southbound R, Cortlandt Street Station. We signed an MOU with the Port Authority, and we are still negotiating one specific issue that has to do with the egress stairs and its funding. We look forward to try to complete this negotiation successfully, and I can give you, I'll give you another report in September if there is an issue. Regarding the number 7 line extension, we have reached a milestone on Thursday, July 15th, with the final breakthrough of the TBM on the 41st Street and 8th Avenue. For you that have not seen that, actually, we do have a short video that was taken. So if you can turn off the lights and activate it, it will just be a couple of minutes. The volume or that are yet to be used.
advancing it a little bit to look
Was that champagne or water?
Water. Yeah, and it didn't splash any of the people showing up for the event. Actually, we had timed it. No, we timed it right because we actually had for that morning we left maybe about 3 feet to go through, and there were people on this side of the wall that were actually looking at a computer constantly, seeing exactly where the TBM was. So I think that we timed it right. I mean, we actually controlled the timing. So one of the things that is important on that also to know that we were able to sign an MOU with the contractor and locking in the early finish for the project. So because they were advancing faster, they were at one point non-committal as to how much of the gains they will lock in, and we were able to negotiate an agreement that we locked in about 5 months of progress. So that's good news. As part of it, the 34th Street Station cavern is moving ahead swiftly, and 9 of the 13 slabs on the mezzanine have been poured. That's about 9 more than we expected to have at this time. And at this point, we are in the process of awarding, actually we awarded the Site L excavation, core and shell, to a joint venture of China Construction and Halmar. And we will be opening the bids for the Site J excavation and core and shell contract by the end of August. So the project is moving ahead well, and we're looking now to actually to see the J and K site to see what the pricings are, so we can then make a better judgment as to what the cost and completion date will be.
So we'll have that update in September when we're all back, right?
We'll have whatever I have, we will have at that time. Yes, absolutely.
The 34th Street Station has 13 slabs. Have you checked out that unlucky number with somebody like the Dalai Lama to get?
Where I come from, 13 is a lucky number.
Oh, it is?
So. The Second Avenue subway, we have in effect begun or tried to begin mining on June 8. As always, when you start the mining process, you have a lot of technical difficulties with the conveyor belts, with the machines to all work together, and that was also so we did not escape that one. We had all kind of problems, including draft shaft failure that had to be replaced, some equipment that came from Switzerland that they had to fly in. Actually, the CEO came in to look at that. But at this time, things started to settle. We are actually the contractor worked this Saturday to kind of try to catch up a bit, and they also are driving through very poor rock. That means they had their ability to excavate what they expected at the very beginning was less than what was supposed to be. Yet, right now, based on what we are seeing, we still anticipate the completion of the West Bore in early January, so we do not see that yet as a problem.
How far along has this machine crept? I mean, what street
We are right now
approximately?
around 90th Street, just past 90th Street.
And it started at what, 92nd?
92nd. We're about 400 feet, about, I think, 450 as of Saturday.
So I could walk faster than with this machine, in other words.
Hopefully. We all can. We are working 3 shifts 5 days a week, yes. But when you have problems with the conveyor belts, with the inability to remove muck fast enough and so forth, these are the issues that we needed to address. In addition to that, anyone that was there at one point should notice that although you saw a machine that was about 450 feet long, right now that machine is 850 feet long. So really, it takes time to assemble things. We got delivery of mock cars. We had to install rail. It's really a very complex. At the very beginning, it's really problematic. And I wish that we would have had the ability now to go with this run all the way down to 34th Street, because once it's in place, it moves. But by the time we get to 65th Street, we'll turn around, pull it back, and start again. So every time you restart a run, it just takes time to set up. So. Very different arrangement. They are running the muck all the way into Queens. So I wish we had that ability. We are running it differently, and we can't afford the same arrangement. So that was a different setup, quite different.
Michael, is this area, you said it's poor rock quality here, is this the area where there's the fault line runs?
Yes, that's correct.
So we're not encountering soft soil per se, we're just
That's right.
encountering less.
The rock is fragmented. So when you run a TBM to an area that is fragmented, you have to kind of put steel rings and keep it in place, and you are very careful as to moving along, because you do not want to have any water penetration, and you do not want, and you need to support the rock, Donald. So you put in stitching, and you put in steel rings and so forth. So that's a slow process. In addition to that, when you start encountering boulders, when you go ahead rather than solid rock, it's tougher to break through. Absolutely not. Anyway, we also, just to mention, we have completed the blasting and rock removal at the 69th Street shaft and anticipate the completion of the concreting of the shaft in mid-August. One of the things that I would like to update you on is the fact that I'm happy to report that at least in one building, 1823, tenants have returned. We actually allowed them back in their apartments. And they moved actually last Saturday back into the residency. About 1 month, so short 2 days of what the original, so we were able to deliver in 28 days. A total of the 88 fragile buildings that were surveyed for the 72nd Street has been completed, and we are now working with the Department of Buildings to determine and their agreement on the various fixes that we need to have. And
out of those 88, how many do we have to fix?
It's at this point we are talking about probably 20 that are more problematic and about 13 that have some easy fixes. So I can't tell you for sure until we are ready to move forward, and that's why we're dealing with the Department of Buildings. Just so you understand, we are in a much more stringent requirements from DOB. We are going further out than we went on the 91st Street. So, but a lot of the stuff that we're seeing is not really nearly as critical what we've seen down. So, we do not expect at this point to encounter some big problems there.
So, definitively 33 out of 88 buildings are to be repaired in some way, shape, or form?
Some may not even involve us. DOB may issue their own report, and they will actually issue violations to to the landlord. So it's a little more complex than me. I don't expect that we'll end up fixing 33, but if you look at it at the number, the most would be that. But I don't think that that's going to go that far. At this point, we're in the process of qualifying the second low bidder at 72nd Street Cavern. As I reported last time around, the first bidder declared a mistake, and probably it was. They were about $127 million below the second bidder, so that was huge. They really, and we actually vetted that and we checked, and there was an error in their bid. So we are now in the process of, in effect, qualifying the low bidder, the second low bidder, that is a joint venture of Chavon and Shea.
If they had fixed their mistake, do we know where they would have wound up in the bidding order?
No. I mean, it's everything. Once you have such a gross error, I mean, everything else is up for indeterminate, It's really, they were 30% less than, even more. I mean, it was like 300, again, 127, and you'll see it. I think that the low bid is 447, still below our engineer's estimate, but they were at 320, so they're really low. The reconstruction of the 63rd Street Lexington Avenue station was advertised on June 24th, and the bids are scheduled to be open in August of just about 17th of August. And I just wanted to report that, last but not least, I met with all the elected officials represented along the 2nd Avenue corridor to, in effect, brief them on the fragile buildings and what to expect. And they have been brought up to date, and the expectation is for me to continue to brief them as we go along, so their constituents will be well aware of what is going on.
Michael.
Yes.
You mentioned the 63rd and Lexington station. Where is that going to be in relation to the current 63rd and Lexington station?
It's going to be
to the north side of it, or?
Basically, it includes also the rehab of the existing, but a lot of it's actually to, the way I would see it, is actually to the east of it, because as we come along, we're adding a piece to it.
And there'll be a 2nd Avenue end to that station, or?
No, the train will continue onto the west side. So it's going to go through 63rd Street Station and then continue to the west side.
And you'll be able to access both platforms?
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks.
And we're adding a lot of, as part of the thing, we're adding also escalators and elevators that were actually the Transit Authority included into our contract to make sure that we bring the station to the ADA standards.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. On to procurements. Can I have a motion and then we'll take some questions? Okay. Questions? I have one on the crane contract, Bay Crane Service, Inc. Could you tell me how much are we paying for cranes in the current contract? It said this one's 2.5% lower, but we have a different mixture of cranes that we're ordering this time.
Well, in some instances, the difference is about 2.5% less. The question being, where are we paying it?
How much is the current contract for, and how many cranes does it include?
The current contract, I believe, is for 15 cranes as well. We've just changed out the type of crane in some instances. But the labor rates that we're paying are lower in this particular contract that we're awarding than in the contract that's currently in place. And if we take those like items and we compare them, that's where you get the difference in the labor rates predominantly.
Okay.
There's two components. There's a rental component for the actual crane as well as for the labor rates of the operator that goes in.
And just refresh my memory, we're going to some larger cranes versus
Yes.
smaller?
Exactly.
Okay, so if we need the larger ones, could we shrink down the order of what we're doing, the number of cranes
We can
we're ordering?
effectively get whatever type of cranes we need, but and if in fact to change, but we have a pretty broad variety of cranes that covers exactly what we need to lift.
And they're all in active service right now, and we need all of them, and they're
Yes, we use
heavily
these
used?
Yes, these cranes get used. Most of them get used almost every day.
Okay.
We're using, lifting track work in the yards, rail, as well as on the construction site that we do.
Okay, I'm hearing some things to the contrary. That's the only reason why I'm asking. Okay.
Okay. I'll get back to you on that.
Oh, okay. We're going to pause just for 1 second. I think, Michael, you wanted to say something rather important to all of us.
Yes, just would like to mention that Ronnie Hakim, that she's my general counsel and deputy, is departing for, I was going to say greener pasture, but is New Jersey. So, and she will be taking a very important job in New Jersey as executive director of New Jersey Turnpike. So take her number, and you travel, you know who to call. But I would like personally to thank her for the great work that she has done in the last 2 years since I'm here, and really, probably I couldn't have done it without her, and I just like to take this opportunity to thank her personally.
I just want to say, add a couple of words to this. Anytime Ronnie stepped to the microphone, I knew I was getting the straight story. I knew I was getting the facts. And I had the utmost confidence in everything that she did for this organization. Make no mistake, this is a tremendous loss to lose you. And the Turnpike needs you pretty badly, but so do we. And I wish we could have moved you even further up in the ranks here, because you're an enormously talented person. The very, very best wishes. You'll have it as we pay our fares on the Turnpike. Thank you.
Easy passes all around.
Not free, though, for us. Not free. Okay, back to procurements. Any additional questions? Okay, can I have a motion to vote, rather, on moving this to the board? Any opposed? Okay, the package moves. Action items?
We have 3 staff summaries. The first is to seek approval to enter into an agreement with APTA and a not-for-profit organization called Transportation Learning Center. I think we're going to be joining, if approved, with 6 other transit agencies to develop an instructional program for elevator, escalator maintenance. It's obviously a problem that we and other transit agencies have. The second action item is we'd like to add a firm. The Law Department has asked to add a firm, John McCormick, P.C., to the panel of attorneys representing New York City Transit and Workers' Comp matters, as a firm with experience in such matters. And the last is an MTACC item seeking additional funding for a design services agreement with 250 East 87th Street to ensure completion of work associated with the 2nd Avenue subway project. And the staff summaries are in the package.
Could I have a motion, and then we'll take questions? Okay. Any questions on any of these items? Okay, vote to move them to the board. All in favor? Any opposed? Great.
And then, if I may, there's a couple of service change proposals that we'd like to the staff summaries are also in the package. One is in response to City DOT's Green Light for Midtown plan. There's some changes in the offing on Broadway between 23rd and 17th Street to create more pedestrian space, and as a result, as you'll see in the staff summary, New York City Transit is proposing to reroute segments of the X1, X7, X9, X10, X12, and X17 buses so as to avoid those pedestrian areas. And these changes would go into effect with the implementation of City DOT's plan sometime this summer. And the second one, I think the committee's aware of. It's bus rapid transit on 1st and 2nd Avenues. It's going to be called the M15 Select Bus Service. It'll replace the current M15 limited stop service with a little bit of increased service and obviously faster running times and longer hours. And again, the details are in the staff summary.
How about questions and comments, Andrew?
A question on the SBS. How are you going to reconcile the 2nd Avenue subway construction with the purported speeds of the bus in the area of the construction?
I'll try and take it. Since there's no one here, I don't think, from buses, Peter might be able to step up. But first of all, we're going to do a number of things in terms of supervision on the street and not having time points and being able to reroute buses quickly should delays occur. Up near the bridge at Triborough, the 2nd Avenue construction area, and the Midtown Tunnel are known areas where we're going to have to put supervision in order to help reroute or speed up the movement of buses. And it's our intention to do that. You don't deliver a service like this and offer premium service with reduced running time unless you can enforce it. Do you want to add anything, Peter?
Yeah, I would add, first of all, it affects about a quarter of the total route, because 1st Avenue obviously is the other direction, and we are not going to, and the city is not going to put the bus lanes in the construction area. Those will be put in when the construction is done by, when the streets are stored by CCC. So there will be some temporary moves and maneuvers up there, but overall it'll still be an improvement in the corridor, and the corridors are already affected by the construction, and we're going to make sure that it continues to operate as well as it can.
Might be a question more for buses, but the legislation passed, I assume the governor signed it, which allowed for bus cameras. Are they going to be installed on all the buses on 1st and 2nd Select Bus Service?
I think we're still working actually with City DOT on how that will all work out. There's the plan is to have cameras both in fixed posts, which DOT would be installing, as well as on the buses, and I think the actual details haven't totally been worked out yet, and the legislation doesn't take effect for a number of days yet, so it's something we're still working on.
And I think there may also be some cameras on other vehicles, other moving vehicles.
Yeah, that I'm more of, I know.
Okay.
But I think it was very important that everyone worked together to get this on buses. I mean, we always had the opportunity to do standing, and we always had the opportunity to do the other vehicles. It was the buses that was so important. I just want to make sure we're rolling it out, and we should track the success of that, since it was my understanding legislation only gave it to us in limited areas. So
Correct.
It's intended to be sort of a test phase. We should just make sure we're doing it, as I'm sure you guys are.
Do we have a commitment from DOT or police to help enforce these lanes yet?
Yes, we do, and we'll be working closely with both the police department and DOT in terms of how we're going to implement that service.
We have one special presentation on the MetroCard program in the book.
I think it's just there for information. I think it's in the book.
Okay, no handouts or anything.
No.
Any questions on that? Okay, any final questions before we wrap up? Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn? Happy August. See you in September.